but you still had to go through it, and it got really, really emotional.
Yeah, and of course you knew it was coming because you read the script 10 months ago.
Yeah.
But your character can't know it's coming because that's not what happened.
No, that's it. You got to live with. You got to live with it and watch and all the extras in the wedding scene, watching their faces because they didn't know anything about this.
Really?
They're in there watching a wedding, and all of a sudden it's like,
oh my
what's
God.
going on here? Do we laugh? Do we cry? What are we supposed to do?
That's amazing.
And they asked for people to stand up. Two of the extras at the back, they just got up. They'd had enough. They thought, no, he shouldn't.
No way!
There was nothing to do. That was never written. They just thought, well,
That is
no,
awesome.
he shouldn't.
All right.
Virgin Radio.
This is time for a guest Vassos.
Everybody loves an underdog. Everybody loves Raymond. And everybody loves our next guest. He's British acting royalty who's swapping the big screen for the bestseller lists. His first novel, All Wrapped Up, is out now. So listen up, everybody, as we break the silence of the Larry Lamb.
Sarah for Larry Lamb.
Well, there you go.
What about that?
What about that?
That's
It's nice
a
having an
genuine round of
audience.
applause.
Yeah, lovely. Better
Yeah.
than just having you here.
I
That's
know,
it.
exactly. We got people that weren't going to come in today, but it's Larry Lamb. Oh yes, I'll come in for Larry
Yeah,
Lamb.
come for that. That's it,
absolutely.
mate.
They're all flocking to Larry Lamb. So you've never run the marathon, but George has run the marathon.
Yeah. I ran a half a marathon
Did
years
you?
ago when I just used to run for fun. You know, back when somebody that ran 12, 13 miles was a little bit weird,
Yeah.
you know. So, but yeah, I did it, but dropped off after a while.
Whereabouts was that?
Out in Harlow, out in Essex,
Right.
years ago when I lived there as a teenager.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, that long ago.
That long ago. Oh, yeah,
Jeez,
yeah.
Louise.
60 years ago.
No way.
Yeah.
And when did George run the marathon then?
He ran that probably 7 or 8 years ago, I think.
Right.
That was he always planned to do it, but in the end, you know, let's do it. And he
And
did it. And
how did he find it?
Hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
Got big plates of meat, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got big plates of meat. I can remember as a boy, you know, they were size 14 when he was about 14, driving all
goodness
over
me.
London trying to get size 14 shoes.
That's Shaquille O'Neal big, isn't
That's
it?
it.
Shaquille O'Neal's size 22, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking.
Yeah,
I think
I
he's
know.
actually size 22.
And Ian Thorpe, the swimmer. He's up there
That's
as well,
right.
isn't he? Yeah.
Very handy when you're swimming,
Yes, he's
I would
very
imagine.
flippers.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, George, you have written a book. Sorry, Larry, you have written a book. George, good morning. Larry,
Good
you
morning.
have written a book, and
Yeah.
at the end of the book, acknowledgements. Thank you for keeping me going. How you know, better late than never. You always had at least one book in you.
Yeah.
But you had a couple of wobbles. When did you decide to write it? Why did you decide to write it? What's it about?
I think the thing is that it was something, as they say, you know, this was the novel lurking inside me, bubbling away for years. And it was just the time a friend dared me to fictionalise some of this extraordinary life I've had. And I thought, well, while I was explaining to her why I couldn't do it, I realised there was this story, this adventure story inside me that had been there for years as I gradually began to realise, coming from the outside world into this business, how the film and television system worked.
Yeah.
And I realised that every time you went away on a job, it was potentially an adventure.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to tell the way it is from the side of the people who work on every scene every single day.
Yeah.
The crew, the ones who are there all the time. You can go on a job and meet a load of actors at the beginning of the job, right? You never see them again.
Yeah.
But you go in and every day the crew are there, right? They become your family.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, why don't I go ahead and do this? I'd always thought of it as a film. Why don't I do this as a novel? Why don't I do what my friend Helen had said, fictionalise it and just make a story of what it is you want to, what the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
And this was a story that what I wanted to tell was about a first assistant director who is the keystone to every production, man or woman. In my case, is a guy called Killy Wilde, right? He's a Londoner. He's about 39, and he goes away to a tropical island with a crew of people to make a film about a little revolution that's going on there. And they finish up in the middle of one. It all starts going seriously wrong right from when they're in the car on the way to the airport, and
Yeah.
it's up to him to pull it all together.
Yeah.
And so what you see is the way this group of 30, 40 people all work together through the difficulties that come piling in on them and find a way out. And in the meantime, you find about, all about their lives, their romances, their home lives. What the story is all about is a group of working people getting together and dealing with whatever is thrown at them.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And the stars come and go, don't they, in the movie industry and in the TV industry. They come and go, but a lot of the crew stay the same, and they've seen it all before, and that's not in some kind of weary, worldly way. But this, somebody might be box office, the number one box office star in the world for 5-10 years. We've witnessed it, haven't we? So I think currently the biggest box office star in the world is probably Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah. But before that, it's been Tom Cruise, and before that, it's been other various people. But they come and they go, and the crews have seen them come and go.
Exactly.
And they've seen big budgets, small budgets.
That's it.
They've seen crazy locations. In your book, there's a reality star that's never acted before that's drafted in for $500,000 or whatever it is.
Well, the thing is that the producer has done a deal with a bunch of money men.
Yeah, of course.
Their side of the deal is you've got to have this guy in it. So he's been talking to people. He can't act. This guy can't act. But he's got about 500 million followers on social media.
Which he'll do.
And they will put the money up to make the film with him in it. So he's got to deal with that. And Killy, the first assistant, and all the crew have got to deal with him. And he's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And the other problem is that the only way they could get him is for 2 weeks that are the end of the 6-week shoot.
Yeah.
They've had to hold it until then. They're waiting to see what he's like.
Yeah.
And on he comes, and you realise, we picked a wrong one there, boy.
Yeah, but without him, the movie doesn't get made.
That's
so,
it.
So it's,
That's it.
again, you made a deal with the devil.
That's
and
it.
It's funny, isn't it? Because having been a producer of various things, radio shows, TV shows, you do think, well, okay, it's tough. Oh my goodness me, I've been produced by producers. I've never had the respect that for producers they deserve. I thought I respected them, but now I know what they go through. There's a whole different level of respect that I will never forget. And sometimes it's not worth it because the people they're producing are rubbish and ungrateful. Yeah. And sometimes the more rubbish they are, the more ungrateful they are because it's the only way they can sort of keep the myth going.
Yeah, that's it.
And then other times you get like an A-lister, super A-lister, amazing filmography, nice as pie.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
What I've tried to do is show both sides of that in this. So whilst I've got this horror show of a bloke that's going to come on, dragging all his family on his private jet, which is really upsetting everybody, I've got this really solid other American actor there who they are face to face. And so, you see the way it is. You see the way the crew deal with the nightmare and the way they deal with the really lovely, solid person who's just like them. They're doing a job. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and the great thing about Killy, and we've all worked with people like Killy, is that he's a solid. He is an absolute solid. He's a stalwart. He's egoless, but he can get you anything. Whenever you need it, if he thinks you deserve it. Yeah. We had a guy called Stephen Joel. He worked on all Don't Forget Your Toothbrushes. He's very, very sadly no longer with us. He worked on all TFI Fridays. And people say to me, he was our Killy, Mick.
Yeah.
Larry. And he because Mick, he's like Mick, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And the people say, tell me about Stephen. What do you mean? What do you mean about this guy, Stephen Joel? I said, well, I would say to him, Stephen, on Tuesday, we'd be writing the script. We think we could do with a tank here. An actual real tank. We got the budget for it. We're doing all right. Channel 4 trust us, won a few awards. Yeah, we've got a decent budget for this. Stephen, it's Chris here. Oh, hello, Chris. And he's always like that.
Yeah.
Hello, Chris. Oh, what is it now? Hello. And he worked full time for us. Hello, Chris. Hi, Steve. I know it's Tuesday, but can we get a tank for Friday? All right, what colour? I said, excuse me? He said, well, of course get a tank. What colour? I said, pink? Yeah, okay, I'll get you a pink one. And he was that kind of thing. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what he does. The first assistant director has got to do exactly what the director wants.
Yeah.
He's got to be there when he wants it, in the shape that it needs to be in, with the people that are going to drive it or look after it. Everybody, it's his responsibility, and it can all change in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
and that's it. He's got to be prepared for that.
Yeah,
So
and you'll
it's
never meet a first AD that's above themselves because you can't. Cause it's like it's not so much a martyr, but it's definitely a saint's role, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's why I always figure him as kind of Mick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is the everyman.
Come on, tell us about that.
Yeah,
connection.
well, Mick's it's funny. What Ruth and James saw in me was what I took.
Now, what are we talking about for people who've just landed from a different planet? Ruth and James, who? And
Ruth and James wrote this thing that I'm sort of associated with. Ruth Jones and James Corden. It's called Gavin and Stacey, right? Just in case you've landed from another little
side
yeah,
hustle.
there's one or two people know about it.
Yeah,
it's why I'm here today,
Gavin
basically.
And Stacey,
So anyway, those two created this character, as they created all those characters, of Mick Shipman, the father of the family of the Gavin, okay?
Yeah.
And so what they realised, they knew what they wanted. They'd written the part. They knew what they wanted in an actor that was going to play this part and the function that character would play within the whole scenario. But I didn't quite realise that, you know what I mean? So it took me 20 odd years to gradually take Mick fully on board, but they'd seen Mick in me when I auditioned for them. And so, I have them to thank for me getting to the point where I now realise I've picked up on this extraordinary man. I had the potential to be there. I had the potential to be this guy. It was there, lurking in the background, right? But what that character did was draw him out in me. And it's the same thing. When I was writing Killy, it was like, this is what he's like. There's nothing. He's not going to be fazed by this. He's got all sorts of dramas going on at home. Yeah. He's got dramas on the set. He's got problems with the producers. He's got problems with the money. He's got problems with the budget. He's got problems with everything. But he's just got to keep going. As he said one morning, it's like, well, that's what you do. When you're a first assistant director, you worry about things, what you got to do, but it's only going to boil your brains in the end. So you just better have a shower and go out and get on with it.
Yeah,
that's it. It's what you do.
Everything is my wife's favourite phrase. Everything is neutral till you give it perspective, and it's up to you what perspective you want to give something.
That's it.
It's Nanny McPhee, isn't it? It's the same thing.
That's it.
Have you seen Landman, the oil show?
Can you love Landman.
But he's Killy.
I tell you, he's a supercharged Killy. The thing is with him, and because that's what I used to do. So
right. What do you mean that's what you used to do?
I was in the oil business.
What?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I was in the oil business, working in Libya in the oil fields, just the same as where they
patch?
are. Hey?
On the patch?
On the patch.
They call it the patch,
They
don't
didn't
they?
have the patch to go and have a drink in there, though.
You're
There was
giving
no
me
drink.
chills, man.
There you go, mate.
What
when
do you
I
mean
saw
hang on a minute, Larry. I've interviewed you 100 times. You've never mentioned you were like a JR at one point in your life.
Well, no, quite the opposite end. I was at the end he's at.
Come
right?
on, tell us about that.
Well, I got involved in the corrosion control business in about 1970 when all the oil and the gas was being landed from the North Sea.
Right.
So they didn't have, gas was produced in the UK up to then, always locally and held in those great big gas storage tanks, right? Yeah. Suddenly they got all this high pressure gas coming out from the North Sea that had to be brought to the customers in a new network of pipes. So over the course of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they built a whole network. So they were looking for people to train as technicians to install anti-corrosion systems as they were building it.
Right.
The company I was with also had a big business in Libya, and they needed somebody to go out and take care of a job in Libya. So I finished up working in Libya in a situation just like the Landman, right? And then I moved to America and was working in associated areas of that, not just on the oil fields again.
When you say in situations just like Landman, he gets in some pretty extreme situations.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have been able to deal with that because he's out in the wilds of Texas, right, where it's pretty lawless out there anyway, completely. Yeah. And so what you're seeing is that responsibility that he has in the same way as my character does for everything. But the difference with him is if they're going to go and drill in a place, he's got to get everything laid. He's got to get roads laid, right?
Yeah, he's got to build roads in minutes.
And he's got to deal with, banditos coming in on aeroplanes and landed on the road that he's just paid to build.
Man.
I mean, that's one of the best television series I've ever seen in my life. The banter.
I can't wait.
The banter is like Olympic level, right?
Yeah.
And that Texas that Texas band, of most of which
world.
I'd love to quote, because there's none of it I can quote on this show, right? None
Have
of
you all
it.
seen Landman?
It's
literally the best show you've never
It's the
seen.
best show. And if you're into like American banter,
It's as good as it gets.
Poof, like that. It was written by the same guy who was an actor, evidently, that wrote Yellowstone. And I guess this, because Yellowstone's one angle of that's the ranching business, right?
Yep.
So it's out and it's about, and then I guess he figured he must have known what it was all like. So
Yep.
he picks that character of the landman. Basically, in the oil and gas business, everything that goes on underground is taken by the petroleum and the gas engineers. They take care of that, right? Once it comes out, the landman deals with everything.
Yeah.
It's up to him to get the stuff out of the ground and on its way.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fascinating, and it's so raw.
I can't wait
It's so
for the
raw,
next.
and it's so funny,
It's so
right?
funny.
In the midst of all this real heavy drama, you've got that woman, his ex-wife.
Yeah.
I mean, she's.
But they're back together now, aren't they?
Are they really?
Yeah.
Has a second series out yet?
No, but they get back together before the end. Yeah, it's so good. Anyway, it's not your book, but we have a Killy in there, don't
That's
we?
all right. You got a Killy in it, yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
All wrapped up, a novel by Larry Lamb. Larry Lamb is a storyteller like no other. Submarines are involved.
Got a
this.
submarine in there, mate.
Yeah,
Got a
because-
submarine. You had a tank.
Yeah,
I needed a submarine.
exactly. You want a
Hey,
submarine? We'll get you a
go have
submarine.
one. That
You
was
might
it.
not want to go down in it.
You
but,
might not want to go down in it at all.
From all the stuff you've done, what's been the most similar job to this?
To this job on this,
Yeah.
like to writing this,
No, to actually being in a production like this.
I guess
A movie
being
like
in a production like that.
Well, actually, let's talk briefly about Gavin and Stacey again, because Killy is the key to things happening and also to running a happy ship.
Yeah.
Because there'll be some people on board who just aren't up for it, so we'll ignore those and we'll get on with it because we've got to stick together. I presume from what James and Ruth have said to me, and from the way you all are,
Yeah.
that Gavin and Stacey was a very happy ship.
A very, very happy
And
type
that's
ship.
it comes across, doesn't it?
Interestingly enough, and he's mentioned right in the back of that book,
Yeah.
with a guy called Steve Roberts, who was our first, right from the very beginning.
So he's Killy.
He's, in his own way,
Yeah.
he is that. He fulfills that function. And that's why I thanked him in the book for letting me watch a master do what he has to do.
Right.
He's got to be ready for anything.
Yeah.
That's it, all the time. And the stress levels. I mean, I wouldn't. The stress levels that's too much.
Yeah,
for me.
but like you say, it's neutral till they don't find it stressful. It's here we go again because their normal is like insane because we're all mad, we're all crazy, and they have to be. They have to be the center, the calm center of sanity in the middle of the insane showbiz, starry-eyed, ego-fueled storm. Of course, Mick, he was pivotal in the last ever episode of Gavin and Stacey. Yeah. Did you know that was coming? Could you see it coming? I mean, what a moment!
This is the problem.
Yes.
You get the call about the show,
right?
Which is a lovely surprise.
Yep.
Then the next big moment is to read the script.
Yep.
So you've read the end months and months and months before you ever get to
the last script.
The last script,
right?
Right. So you read the script, then you get together and read the script together, so you know the feel of it, and you know already it's another genius piece, right? But all the time you're thinking, God, that's all a build up to that. You've got that to come to, so you know what's due to be done,
right?
And then of course all of a sudden one day there you are, and you're doing it, right? And then, you've got the next thing to go through is the end of it. And like unusually, because, when you're doing film and television, it's all according to locations. Yeah. It's not at all according to the clock or the calendar. So you can do jobs where you do the end on the first day because they could only get that location for that day. But this, they'd engineered it so we were going to be filming the last day on the last day.
Very clever.
Which was extraordinary,
Very
I tell
clever.
you. Just amazing. But you still had to go through it, and it got really, really emotional.
Yeah, and of course you knew it was coming because you read the script 10 months ago.
Yeah.
But your character can't know it's coming because that's not what happened.
No, that's it. You've got to live with it and watch and all the extras in the wedding scene watching their faces because they didn't know anything about this.
Really?
They're in there watching a wedding and all of such like,
Oh my
What's
God.
going on here? Do we laugh? Do we cry? What are we supposed to do?
That's amazing.
And they asked for people to stand up. Two of the extras at the back, they just got up. They'd had enough. They thought, no, he shouldn't.
No way.
There was nothing to do with that. Was never written. They just thought, well,
That is
no,
awesome.
he shouldn't.
All right, mate. Have you got another book in you?
I reckon, yeah.
Yeah?
I reckon, yeah. It's going to be a radio show host.
Right, well, if you
You've
need...
got no chance.
It's perfect. Okay. Innocent as not charged.
Yeah.
Right, all wrapped up. Larry Lamb is a storyteller like no other. James Corden, a novel by Larry Lamb. Let's hear it for Larry Lamb, everybody. And we're almost out of here. Ryan Tuberty is next. Couple of tunes, and then we'll see you Tuesday.